Welcome to our little event at Oslo Innovation Week called Video Killed the Radio Star. And that's obviously referencing the great Tandberg heritage, Tandberg radio. There's a lot of Tandberg people here, so most of them know the heritage. But Tandberg, the legacy goes back to 1933 and Vebjørn Tandberg starting the Tandberg Radio Factory. And their first production facility was in Kongens gate 15, which is literally, if you're good at throwing, a stone throw away from here. So a lot of manufacturing happened in Oslo back in the days. So my name is Thomas Bostrøm Jørgensen. I'm the CEO at Appear. You probably read a bit about us. We've been in the media making some noise lately. So we got a lot of interesting plans, but that's not the topic of today. What we're going to do today is we're going to have two rounds of chats. We're going to have a fireside with some people that either have a lot of Tandberg legacy and are working in companies that are offshoots of that legacy, and just explore what is the secret sauce, because there's obviously some very, very important elements of that culture that has spawned innovation and great companies down the line. And then we're going to have another panel about how Norwegian companies have scaled internationally and what makes them competitive on a global scale. So we have another set of people that have a lot of insight and knowledge in that field. So that's really the setup of today. We're going to start off by inviting the first panel participants on board. So Rosa Stensen, Terje Rogne, and Tom Erik Lia, please join me on the stage.
Sitt under bildene våre.
All right, so welcome team. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
I thought we'd just kick it off by having you introduce yourself and quickly. A very verbose team here, and just articulate your relationship to the Tandberg legacy. So we can start with you, Terje.
Not ladies first.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, ladies first.
So hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Rosa Stensen and I'm the CEO of Hudley. Hudley is kind of the second generation from Tandberg. So I personally have been in the niche video industry only for 3 years, but quite fortunate to be able to work with a lot of people that have their background from the Tandberg and kind of working with the second wave of the Tandberg culture.
Yeah. Terje?
Thank you. So my name is Terje Rogne. I joined Tandberg at October 18th. 1994 at exactly 10 o'clock. So that was the very beginning of a long journey that ended up in 2008 as the CFO. I did a multiple number of roles, which is quite typical in small companies. You tend to sort of do a lot of different things. It was a long journey. Since 2008, I've been the chairman of a number of different technology companies. So that's right now. I'm also the chairman of Appear. So yes, another new venture. Thank you.
Tom Erik?
Yeah. So Tom Erik, I started in Tandberg at the same time as Terje back in '94, straight from university. And little did I know that the next 30 years I would be working with video conferencing. But it was a cool little niche product, so it was fantastic. So I was a software engineer, and when I started, we were 8 people in the video conferencing part of Tandberg back in the days, and went through this growth. We ended up being 200 people in R&D, and as you said, Terje, over every 3 years, I changed jobs because you had to grow with the company, and I think that was one of the great things about it was you didn't have to change jobs because there was so many opportunities within the same company and with the people you love working with. So I after the acquisition with Cisco. I'm one of the founders, together with Michelle over there, that started a company to do video conferencing as a service. And we merged later with another company that also was started from the Tandberg area, which is now the Pexit that you see on the Oslo Stock Exchange. So we've been through quite a growth, including an IPO. So I wish you best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good to have. So
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, combined, you have a ton of experience with both with Tandberg companies and with offshoots, you know, down the line. There's got to be, I haven't counted actually, but it's got to be sort of in at least 10, 15 companies that have been started and successfully grown out of that heritage. Now, I want to start with you, Terje, and really put out the question about the secret sauce. So, what is it with the Tandberg like culture or legacy or heritage that allows this sort of international tech scale success? I mean, what is the secret sauce? Can you help us understand that?
First of all, I think it's important to state that there are a number of claims to that secret sauce. So I should limit myself to the fact that this is only my opinion, not necessarily the fact behind the story. And I think the culture, yes, the culture was important. But first of all, we had a good start. We had access to the best breed of technology through, at that time, Telenor Venture, our Telenor R&D department, that did some fantastic video technology, and we acquired then that compression technology that later on has become the key technology for all the ventures that have come out of it. So yes, access to very good technology. Then we had a management that knew where we were going to go and how to get there. Marrying that with a very flat organizational structure that allowed us to really get the best out of all the qualified and very excellent people that we managed to hire. Binding all that together with a clear culture. That was really the steering mechanism to make everyone, without huge organizational manuals that drives companies crazy. It was really the steering method for people in the East, in Japan, to people in the West, in California, to steer everyone attacking the same goal.
That's interesting.
In a very sort of precise and homogeneous way. So I think that is at least from my point of view, the secret sauce.
And so I think it's interesting because, Rosa, you've obviously taken over the management of a company that has this sort of foundational genetics, you know, from Tandberg in it. How has that been for you? What's like your reference into the sort of Tandberg legacy and what drives what the secret sauce is?
Actually quite funny hearing you talk about Tandberg. It's pretty much what I recognize quite well. So you say, yes, video killed the radio star, but even though Tandberg became Cisco and doesn't exist anymore, the culture survived the company. So you sometimes say the culture sits in the walls, but not for Tandberg. It kind of is like more like a religion, because it's that attitude. So I don't know how many, I think I know all of your slogans you had as your values. No, so it is kind of that attitude of, with the competence and availability of technology, that everything is possible. So yes, you're a small company out of Norway, but well, we go and get Google or Microsoft as a customer. Why not? We can do it. If you have that clear goal, that's what we are going to do. So I recognize that very well. Everything is possible. Go get it attitude is very, kind of shines through.
Very funny, after we got acquired by Cisco, I think there were like 50, 60,000 people at the time, and we believed that we would go out and change Cisco. Not the other way around, because that was how we were programmed. There was nothing was impossible. It's like, go ahead and just do it. Of course, we failed, but but we believed it for a year at least. Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about when we spoke earlier the way Tandberg approaches people and recruiting. Can you say something about how that had sort of impacts, I guess, the culture and maybe it's part of the secret sauce?
Yeah, it's I mean, it starts with people, right? So I think from the get-go and in the beginning, and I remember my interviews, I think I've been into an interview for 10 times or something, right? So it's about getting the right people with the right attitude, and we had higher attitude, trained for skills. So that was one of the slogans we used. So getting people with curiosity, with the right attitude, the right mind, and then in R&D side, when you get a lot of these people and they are great people, they attract other great people, right? And again, if you start a company, start with some of the best people because they will attract other good people. So that's one side of it. So being notorious when you hire people, it took time. It took a lot of effort. It took time because we wanted to have the right people. And then from the R&D side, when you're inheriting great kind of technology, but also hiring great talent, and you start to build around this R&D side. And remember, we grew up to become the world leader. We had 51% market share of all video conferencing in the world were developed at Lysaker. So of course, as you grow, then you have extreme competence within embedded software and hardware development. We wanted to be best in everything we did. So if speakers wasn't good enough, we designed our own speakers. We designed our own microphones. We designed our own cameras. And you're a heritage of that, right? Because we did a few cameras in the world. So when you gather all of these people, all of this competence, and nobody wanted to leave, right? So it became a huge group of people with enormous competence. And then when Cisco acquired us, it was the ending of one chapter, starting a new one. And I think that led also then back then that people had so much competence and wanted to use that to create their own companies. And I think, as you said, I know at least 8, 9 companies that we started off just after kind of the acquisition, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great legacy. And by the way, I just must say, I think we were 200 people in R&D when the acquisition took place. Cisco has continued to invest, so I think there are now 400 people in Oslo. Yeah. So it wasn't a bad acquisition in that way. It was bad for some of us with the culture that was a little bit mismatched with the American culture back then. But they continue to invest. So kudos to them. It's a great center now with video conferencing also still there with Cisco.
That's amazing, validation, right? So Terje?
Yes, so if I were to rip apart all the good things that we did within Tandberg and through that era, and just remain with one thing, it was our ability to bring on board better and better talents. And that's a very important reflection in terms of when you manage to create a level of success, remember that the most talented people want to work for the best companies. So it becomes a self-reinforcing circle. And if you manage to steer that process continuously, and we did, we knew that tomorrow we will attract better talent than today. And to be aware of that and hire very carefully and sort of make sure that you nurture that reinforcing positive circle, it's a very important aspect of growing a technology company. And on the flip side to that, hiring, I know that we had budgets calling for 20% headcount growth. You never manage without M&A transactions, you never manage in a qualified hiring process to be above some 16.5, maybe 17% year after year.
Yep.
So with that kind of hiring splatoria, you will eventually face that you hired a bad candidate. And then it's equally important to pull it out. Very quickly, very precisely, pull it out. Because one source not sort of supporting the entire ship going in that direction creates so much noise, so much aggravation, so much sort of loss of energy that sort of be very precise in terms of taking that resource out of the equation.
That's good insight. So, Rosa, you're hiring, building a team that is foundationally based on, let's say, Tandberg culture. How do you approach sort of finding people that fit into the culture? Can you identify it to new candidates without kind of them being in it?
Well, I think that Tandberg culture, the whole attitude. So yes, obviously we do tests and like skill tests of the people being recruited, but more importantly, we test who they are as people and their attitude. So a bit so that part of the interview process is even more, because that hired for attitude, trained for skills, it's again, I've heard that so many times.
You heard it before?
And again, very strong team that is in the center of it, that also are quite heavily hands-on involved in every single recruitment.
Yeah.
Not only in R&D, but also if it's people and culture, if it's from finance, it's across the board.
Across the organization.
Yes.
Yeah. So anecdotally, my first job coming out of college was at Tandberg Television. And so I was there for 3 years, and then I did a lot of other stuff, and then I came back to the same people I worked with. Actually, all the founders at the pair came out of Tandberg Television. But one of the things I noticed that I've had maybe forgotten slightly on the way on my path from here to there was the attitude that the people in the company had towards spending the company's money.
Pass på penga.
Pass på penga, which is like, and I think it's so important particularly for companies in the early stage to spend the money wisely that they raise. Don't try to hold back on everything you can. Spend the money on building the greatest product possible and attracting the best people possible. And I really, I felt it and I lived it at Tandberg, and I felt it and I lived it when I came back to a pair, and that had kind of transcended their whole journey, and it still lived in the business. Like watch the money, and spend the money on building a great company. And then once you're successful, you can reward yourself. And I think the other piece that transcended my journey from Tandberg, via or all the way to a pair was employee ownership. And for us, now that we are likely, listing the business in Q4, employee ownership is super important. I really believe that, and we encourage our employees to become shareholders and be part of the value creation. And I think that's a very valuable, at least takeaway for me from the Tandberg culture.
It's funny to hear a Japanese say "pass på penga."
Yeah. I'm sure it is.
But our Minister of Culture, she's sitting right over there. So through her and her efforts, we managed to sort of bring the word out, speak the word, and it becomes the truth. And through a very consistent, very disciplined way of driving the culture, everyone knew, even if you were speaking Japanese or English, you knew what "pass på penga" meant. So
super valuable and super important. Okay, thank you. So I think we're gonna wrap up this first part, but I really want to hear from you, because you're highly experienced people, and I want to hear your advice to new companies, right? Companies fighting to get out there and have success. What from the Tandberg legacy or heritage? What piece of advice can you bring to new companies trying to make it big, on the technology stage?
If you were, if I'm going first, again here, that's very sort of situational, meaning that you have to manage the resources that you have at hand. But as I said, if I were to rip apart everything clever, good that we did, it was a strong focus on organizational strength, building the organization. Because if you look at every and any technology success, it always remains with a very strong organization. So to me, that is the core of building a success.
Thank you. Rosa?
I think that's a bit the same as Terje is saying, but I would be even more precise. Pick your team carefully, particularly in the beginning. Yes, you can be the best engineer in the world, but if you don't have that chemistry or you don't share even the personal values, that can be an issue. So pick your team, the core team, carefully. That are people that you're going to spend more time with than your family, because that's what it takes to make it happen. So that's my best advice.
Thank you. Tom Erik?
So we started off in a niche, right? Video conferencing, nobody used it. And I think that is one of the mantra that we now see is you can be extremely good if you focus. So our advice to startups are focus on a niche and just be extremely good at it and get customer feedback before you start to do everything else. So focus on a niche, be extremely good, and just get your first customers and get first customer feedback. I just remember how rigid we were for user experience. I mean, customer was so in focus, also in R&D, and we sent out engineers all over the world talking to customers. So everybody, all the engineers even, felt the problem the customer had when they had a problem. So the focus on customer experience, getting customer feedback, and just focus on one thing.
Focus, simplify, and act.
Yeah.
That's another Tandberg. All right. Well, thank you so much, panel. That was highly insightful, very engaging. So give them a round of applause. And yeah, you're gonna have to we're just gonna take 1 minute to get their mics on, and the next panel just have to scramble down in the corner. And then, yes. Yes. Du må bare sitte her. Du må sitte foran bildet ditt. Ja. Veldig viktig. Ja.
God prat. Det er så morsomt å høre på, for det er liksom det er utrolig hvor mye som skal komme ut av en liten gruppe, men det er kompetanse.
Jeg er helt enig.
For da blir det riktig med rekkefølgen bare. Det kommer på en men bare. Men det også er vits. Ja, bare putte den inn i rommet.
Sånn det.
Ja.
Bra. Hvor mange sånne har du hatt denne uken?
Av disse?
Ja.
Nå er jeg på mic, så jeg kan ikke...
Ja, ok. He was very good.
Okay. Yes.
Bra, vanlige Teams i morgen.
Ja. Og da har vi... Ja, ja, vi snakkes etterpå. På det temaet.
Okay.
Ja, du må ha foran bildet.
Du er en av de som på en måte er bedre live enn på bildet. Det er noe sånt.
Jeg ser han som på en måte aldri oppdaterer bildet, så har det sånn faktisk vært vanskelig å liksom kjenne henne i virkeligheten.
Jeg har sett det foran det, ja.
Vi har bilder det bruker også. Og viser enda mer, vi bruker bare det samme hele tiden.
Ja. Ja. All right, we're going to get going again. Session 2, another brilliant panel. We're going to discuss how Norwegian companies have scaled internationally and what makes them competitive on the global scale. And we have a highly competent panel here. These people could talk for probably 4 or 5 hours straight, each one of them. So we'll try to keep it short and snappy. But please introduce yourself. We'll just start. Oh, I should start with the women. Taking Terje's note.
Yes, my name is Nora Skabo. I'm the CEO of Supit. We are a company that have done an exit to Schibsted and Norgesgruppen within logistics, and then realized we had to rebuild our entire product. And now, the last 2 years, I bought out the company. We brought in an external investor and then built a SaaS platform for logistics.
Go back here.
My name is Kent Ramersen. I have been working with the company called Data Response, building it up from quite small company outside of Høvik to a pretty large company internationally in Nordic, Europe, and Asia. And we did 20% growth in average 20 years.
That's fantastic.
So that's what you're going to do now. And around 25
to 30 is what the prospectus is. Thank you.
20 years. And then 25 acquisitions we have made, and most of them internationally. So I think that tells a little bit about me. Now I'm an investor and also starting to build some new companies. So that's cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Martin?
So I'm the people person, as I like to say. I've been spending people pleaser and people person. I spent nearly 30 years building boards and management team for some of the fastest growing tech companies in the world. 24 of those were in London, and thank God I'm back to my home of Norway. Some of you remember me from 360 Leaders, where I was CEO, and last year I jumped onto my competitor Erevina, which is unknown in Norway, but probably one of Europe's leading tech search firm, hiring for the likes of Anthropic and lots of the fast-growing companies out of the Nordics.
Thank you. Arne?
Yeah, so Martin is the people person. Arne, I'm the money person. So Arne Tonning, I'm a partner with Alliance VC, Nordic venture capital firm now. So I've been a venture capitalist for more than 15 years. Invested in a bunch of startups, and the idea is to invest early and then help build large companies in the international markets. I guess I worked in this topic 5 years for market expansion pre-VC in the UK market, and then 5 years in Silicon Valley working there, and the majority of the companies I work with are in various stages of expanding to the US market. And when Thomas presented, he said, Tandberg Television appear and a lot of other stuff. That other stuff was partially working with me. And so we took a company to the US and ultimately sold that company to US buyer in a very painful deal, but we landed the plane, I guess we can say.
We landed the plane, and no parts fell off. So that was good. Thank you, thank you. So let's dive in it. So you're highly experienced, all of you. So I want to start with sort of lessons learned about taking companies internationally from Norway. We've done it together, and you all have experience doing it. So what works and what doesn't work, and you've seen hundreds of companies, so you probably have the best data, from all of us.
Yes, so I think all companies are different. So like saying this is the thing that works for everyone just is not true, because it depends on what kind of product you have, whether you need to adjust it for whatever, to what extent you have to adjust it, to be honest, and how different the customers are and what the go-to-market motion is and so forth. So I think you need to categorize it, but if you sort of try to zoom in and make it somewhat simpler, let's say we have like a reasonably complex product and it's an enterprise sales motion, for example, to simplify it. I think like building on the strengths of the engineering and the product at home, and then building a commercial organization that sort of has the aggression and ambition and the networks in the local markets, and sort of meld that together as one organization that works together under good leadership, I think is like the key. Oftentimes when it fails, it becomes different islands that drifts in different direction. I think that's like at least a common theme here.
Martin?
Yeah, I think it's right, and I both Terje and Tom Erik was talking about this. Is not really about tech; it's about talent, right? But I think, like Arne is saying, you have to create a conducive organization in which to scale on, and to see it internationally. And we see this with the tax laws, the exit tax. what are Norwegian founders going to do? They can't move to UK, they can't move to US, they can't grow with the company, which we used to do in the old days. So how does that work? And I think the key is to always be contextual, to always understand the context on which you're growing, so the phase, the stage, the strategic objectives within a short period of time, typically 1 to 2 years, not 5 years, not 10 years. That's for vision. But have very, very short context. Then add some strategy, which we know can obviously go back and forth, and then have an execution plan. Know what to action on. And I think with that, hire for that context. That's the companies that succeed. So, yeah, I think I'll stop there.
Nora, you've just scaled up in Sweden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your experience? I mean, what worked, what didn't work? How did you think about delivering on that?
We don't know if it doesn't work yet, but
okay.
Yeah, we have the same experience. We hire locally, and we are at a stage very different from yours. We are at a very early stage, so we kind of hire people for purpose. Because we cannot compete with OpenAI when it comes to salaries. So we kind of have to give the purpose to people. So people really believe in the mission. And also, I see it from our customers, our early pilot customers, because they see what we are doing. They have been in planning transportation for 25, 30 years. And then we come in and then we say, oh, use this product. We really would like these people to feel super smart and like, I can bring my 25 years of experience in your product. And we listen into them and we almost use them as employees. It's like drag them into the organization and kind of like, okay, give us everything, the truth. You're an asset for us now. And we see that closeness to the customer and abroad. And of course, the best product to the right people. That's my experience, at least.
Cool, thank you. And you have immense experience in successfully, scaling internationally. And what's your secret sauce? What's the recipe for success? And what not to do? I think that's also really important, right? To kind of acknowledge, because there's a lot of you surely had some missteps as well, even
of course.
with this fabulous growth you delivered over 20 years.
No, but I think it's the key point here is and often not talked a lot about. It's about winning, isn't it? So it's creating a winning team and winning something, winning customer, winning contracts, winning, and this is attracting a lot of things. So what we did actually when we started was that if you're going to start internationally, you actually need to know that you are good. So what we did was actually, how can we start internationally from Norway? Maybe let's try to get Tandberg as a customer. Maybe try to get Leather Medical as a customer. It's really a success in medtech. And then we work with Kongsberg Maritime, Kongsberg Defense on technology. And then you really work with global players. So your value chain has to be global and best. Your knowledge and competence has to be best. And these customers are demanding. This guy there, he has made a lot of problems for me but he has, it's such a tough to work with the best guys. They really want you to deliver. But if you have the right partnership, which is very important, partnerships is a key here if you're going to survive. Really hard demands from the customers, but also like love. So if you improve, you are staying there. So that's what we did. We actually work with the best and we grow with them internationally. So find your demanding customer at home and then you go outside.
Yeah.
Can I just shoot in there? It's quite interesting. The longer it takes to get into a client in the UK, a market I know quite well, the longer it will take for them to let you go. There's high customer loyalty in the UK. There's very little customer loyalty in Norway or Sweden, where it's more merit-based. So just remember that. So that hard slog of getting in, it says it takes 16 cups of coffee or 3 beers. It's worth it.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I think, Arne, you said something when we spoke last about making sure you go into big enough markets to actually make it a success, right?
Yeah, I mean, we invest as venture investors, and the fund model is essentially big outcomes, right? Otherwise, you don't make a return on the fund level because a lot of things fail when you invest early. So that means the things you have to succeed with have to succeed big, and big markets is where you get big success, right? There are very few things you can build a big company out of in Norway. So essentially, cracking the code of a big market is like the key to success if you start as a Norwegian company.
Yeah, I think that's a really good.
It's kind of math, essentially.
Yeah, and you talked about having to focus as well, right? Know your knitwear.
Yeah, you need to be really best at something.
Yeah.
So I think for us it was like we were working with embedded solutions, with IoT and hardware, software development, hardware platforms, and we tried to be really good at something. And for instance, one of the things we could be good at is hard, rough environments. For instance, that's something we know in Norway. And guess what? There's lots of rough environments out in the world. So you can take that skill, which we are really good at, and you can put it out in the world. So I think you need to be best at something. That's very important if you're going to succeed outside. But I can tell you also a lot of things that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So one of the things is also you need to be very flexible. I think this is something everyone who's built a big company knows. So one thing was we were going to Finland and Germany at the same time.
Yeah.
And Germany is like 20 times bigger than Finland. And then we were seeing that it was too demanding for us. Okay, what are you going to do? And what we ended up with doing was, okay, we closed down Finland and focused everything on Germany. And that's very hard. Yeah. Because the hard stuff is actually to say no, to cut something. Because we all know how to build, and then that was an important part of the success. On the way, say this was wrong, take the heat, take the blame, of course, as the boss, and move on. It's very important.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good advice. So another aspect, and of course, we're most of us are sort of well, I guess most of us are Norwegian, have Norwegian culture and background, have sort of some Viking blood, and there's part of that culture that isn't great, but venturing out into the world and conquering, winning is of course part of it. But I'm wondering, is there any specific part of Norwegian business culture that is a competitive advantage internationally?
I don't hire Norwegians, so I wouldn't know that.
You are Norwegian.
Yeah. We are 20% Norwegians in the company. So I only hired international talents because we hire for skills, not for what their names are or anything else. But I think if you find a very, very good Norwegian, you can find loyalty. You can find like a friend for life, and what you see in the Tandberg space, you kind of see that companionship and kind of people who would like to work together for a long period of time. And then I think if you find those Norwegians, you really find the best 1-2% in the country, which is outstanding, I think.
Yeah. No.
I think we can't, like, if you build great global companies, they can't be like Norway-only companies. I think like having that diversity is a very good thing. But I think we need to build like good company culture, and sometimes that is to a large extent aligned with where we come from and the first employees set the culture and so forth. And I think there are some things that we see repeating that kind of works. So one of the things is that I think we have like good solid engineering skills in Norway at a pretty low cost, with somebody who doesn't need to be managed that much. So as long as there's like reasonable leadership and you build that sort of core tech capability, that seems to be repeating pretty well. And the other thing is that Norwegians, certainly in Silicon Valley, don't oversell compared to the locals. and that can be obviously a problem in that people don't think you have ambition or that this is an interesting company. But the flip side to that, and I think it repeats other places, is that you gain credibility by actually delivering what you say you will do. And I think that's sort of also that trust element seems to be working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think trust is highly scalable. I think it's our best export article. Someone actually told me the reason Norwegians build great products is because of the Ante law. So they just don't dare to sell or present or kind of brag about the product like Americans might do. So I think that's another point. But the point, you mentioned Vikings.
Yeah.
The Vikings actually took their offsprings to the likes of UK to teach them how to do international trade. And us Norwegians still haven't learnt it. So
What do you think, Kenneth?
I think one of the things that I think we try to do when you build a global company is also, the battle is a little bit at home also. So you try to build a global culture in Norway also. So it's not like this is the Norway company trying to build a global culture. You need to take your medicine at home. So I think this is very important, that you actually try to be global at home. And then I think some of the things we have talked about, like this flat structure and trust we're raised with in Norway, that is bringing speed. So it's fast, people take accountability, and they're used to work autonom, and that's a strength in the right positioning. So I think you can use some of that, and then I think it's my experience is that there's lots of good culture and lots of good people outside of Norway. So I think that's also very important. And regarding culture, for me, it's always culture is the first one in, and then the last one in. Remember that. So I always say that when I come in with a new guy, you are part of the culture. You are setting the culture, not only the old guys. That's very important.
Well, culture is a strategy. Talk to Anniken over here. She knows all about it.
That's good. I think, I mean, my experience with having worked in a lot of tech growth businesses over the years is that let's say the management style and the trust in the kind of, let's say, the Norwegian or probably Nordic kind of way of managing a company allows you to operate at a much lower cost and with much less complexity than a lot of foreign organizations in the same stage. So that's just capital efficient. So I think that is probably one of the most important exports. But I think it actually brings me on to the kind of my next question, which is, in order to build these international businesses, we have to attract international talent. Like there's not enough Norwegians to be successful in that. So I think, Martin, this is your business, and you have immense experience in recruiting international talent for some of the biggest and most successful companies in the world.
I made more mistakes than anyone in this room.
So can you share just some insight into how to be successful? What should Norwegian company CEOs, what should they think about when they go out and try to build an international team? What's important?
Okay, how long have I got? I think what I've learned over many years is that it's not always the strength you're hiring for. That you have a big brand, you've got lots of money, you're global, it's a safe place to work. What I find works with Norwegian, I've done a lot of work with Thomas, been lucky to hire a few of the management team members, is actually what you're not. We're trying to fill a gap, right? And a lot of the work I do is trying to define that gap, and when that gap appears, pardon the pun, and then, trying to figure out what is it these people, you mentioned purpose, that's extremely important. Mission over money. What do they want to achieve? And you'll be surprised how many people in Silicon Valley actually wants to have an impact. A lot of them made a lot of money. So all they want is to have an impact. And when you come with a Norwegian CEO, slightly humble, understated, with a great product and a great autonomous leadership style based on a lot of trust, that's the gap. That's the kind of person they want to work with. That's where they can find the most impact. I think that's the kind of core that you as a talent magnet, Thomas, needs to think about. And then, of course, going on from there, you need to build a team. And like I said earlier, you have to complement that Nordic home-based team within the international ones. It's very important to find the sequence of what you hire and when. Not too much too early, not too much later either. Find the balance between who should be at home at the headquarters, who should be in the US, UK, and find the balance of, call it the way of working and the power structure within the management team. That's going to be very important. And it's a constant job for people like you. It never stops. It's dynamic. It's not like you suddenly fixed it, because then suddenly there's something else popping up. So it's an evolving thing. And lastly, you hire for the future, but you can't forget about the now. So remember to invest wisely on what kind of talent you need at what stage and in what context.
Thank you. But Nora, you say you're only hiring international talent, but you're a Norwegian company. So what is your philosophy here? How do you attract talent to build that team?
Yeah, I think what we do is that we work with very difficult stuff. We kind of solve the traveling salesman problem, work with algorithms, etc. And I think we find passionate engineers that really would like to solve hard stuff. And we have a quite individual group. Everyone in our company are very individualists. It's a bit of a problem as well, but when we are very few, each person need to contribute a lot. And when you are in a small company, you also need to be a kind of a unicorn person. You need to be extraordinary on kind of creating what you do. And we compete with companies that have 1,000 employees. So to make a dent in that world, everyone needs to bring their A game. And we need to be good at fire people fast as well. I think that's a culture which we are not very good at in Norway, which I think we should be better, because I think that could ignite the fire. I just remember I got laid off in my first job after just a few months because of financial reasons. That kind of ignites a fire in me. And I think that we are too afraid in Norway to kind of like, you are wrong here, or maybe the company was wrong for you. It doesn't have to be that you are not skilled. So I think that we need to I like to be very frank with my employees, and I like them to be very frank with me. And I think that's a thing that we need to be very strong at. And then it also includes, it attracts international talents.
Awesome, thank you. Kenneth?
I want to say a little bit about when you're growing and you have success, suddenly you are 1,000 and 2,000 people, so you get bigger. So you need to take that into your account. And for us, it was really important to really let the guys coming in there understand that you can be the boss of the company. So you create an organization where people coming in, either young or they are senior or super good someplace, but they can have a career here. And this is something that is very important that you build up. So people they're feeling, this is my home, I can be here for a long time. And also we want people who is curious, who wants to actually do the extra thing on the winning team. And I think that's key point. And one of the things I learned when I built up company in Asia, in Taiwan, one of the things I always saw when we were talking to our people there or partners, there was always people coming over to me and said, oh, fantastic. Cool company, and then what have you done? How do you made this? People ask me, and they're asking, why do you did that? How could you get to this position? In Norway, I never heard that question. Never. And that's very interesting. So I think we need to encourage that people actually ask people, where are the mentors? What did they do, actually? Don't try to invent everything yourself. Learn. I think that's very important. I don't know if you agree on that.
Yeah,
I just learned one thing, that high for potential, and potential apparently 4 things. Yeah. It's hunger, it's ambition, it's curiosity, and humility. Yeah. And that's not an age thing.
Arne?
Yeah, so when I come on a panel, I make a point now of disagreeing with somebody, and I'm going on the dangerous one because I'm going to challenge one of the Tandberg isms from the previous
yeah. Send it over there.
So all right, I might be in a mass fight going out here, but it was something about hire for attitude and train skill.
Yeah.
And I think my disagreement is probably not very fundamental, but I think it depends on the company. I think this works when you have established an organization that's reasonably stable, and it's kind of humming, and you fill up from below. I think then maybe I'm trying just to get out of here alive. But the companies I work with are startups, right? And worst case, they're like by founders who come right out of university and don't know anything except from maybe this thing they're doing. In worst case, they're repeat founders who are really, really good at something, but still the organization is 5 people and they're all of these holes. And building these companies, speed is everything. And one of the things we see a little bit too often in Norway as well, we can always hire people who can learn it. The thing is, you don't have time to learn. I mean, building a network takes 10 years. Or you just have to fill in gaps of skills. Yes, you have to vet for cultural fit, but you are hiring for very, very specific holes that there is no time to learn. And so I think it's important to have that perspective given that kind of company as well.
Hit the ground running.
Well, are we okay with the last answer? The last question?
No, but I think I have the exact same experience, Arne.
Yeah.
I have the same experience, and I think you're right. There are specifics. Particularly in the beginning, you need to get stuff done, and you need to get people to have the network. And I would say particularly so in a pair we built built a US sales team from scratch.
Maybe you need some network there.
Exactly. So they knew the industry, they knew the customers, and clearly they hit the ground running. But I think if you look at volume and filling out the organization, then clearly you need the right people.
But also you changed the go-to-market model.
Yeah.
And that's also a very important point. You actually change things. You try a thing, and then it's wrong, and you do something new. And I think that's a quality sign of a company. If you dare to kill your darlings, I think that's super important.
Yeah. Yeah, and that can be hard.
And then like I said earlier, then the context changes for hiring.
Yeah.
So the people who were great at one point are suddenly completely wrong. And it's not their fault. And they should be somewhere else, to your point about the kind of fluidity of the market. But that's important for a CEO to know when is this person going to be wrong and start that process.
Yeah. You also talked, when we spoke earlier, Arne, you spoke about the need to have sort of enough gravity or enough people to actually, you're building an international kind of function and expanding internationally. You talked a bit about having...
I think it relates specifically to startups who are typically resource constrained, and when you add small components, you don't have like a fixed structure and something that it fits into. And it relates to these islands, drifting apart, right? So say, okay, we need to break the US. Okay, we hire some senior sales guy in the US. There's no, cultural transfer. There's no oversight from people who belong in the organization. And what happens is that, he goes and sells some product that's not there. And the people at home says, look, he doesn't know what he's selling. And, you can argue across 9 hours of time zones endlessly about this, and you never get anything. So, if you do that kind of thing, I think, preferably a founder who carries culture, who can, transfer culture and knowledge with it, and then also when, communicating back, he's not quite as crazy as they say. This is what he means, and so forth. So I think there are all of these things you can do to, even with small resources, but like this, we hire people who are completely remote, generally doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we're going to wrap up this session with getting some insight from you guys to new scale-ups, new companies. What are the threats and opportunities that you see for Norwegian companies looking to go big, in the international markets? We'll go this way. Start with you.
Do like Appear. No, I think it's lots of opportunities actually. So I think it's always how you are looking at. If you're going to build companies, if you're going to succeed, I think it's one thing that's very important. You need to be optimistic. Pessimists never make anything. So you need to be optimistic, and then I think you need to embrace the changes as your friend and not your enemy. Today everyone is talking about AI. And it's like many are really stopping the investments. Some is don't know where it's going. But the point is that this is an evolution. AI is a tool. It will help us, make us more efficient, and it will also be a very helpful part of our products. But also you can make a lot of type of services, of competence around it. I'm also involved in companies we're building up around this. So it's an opportunity. So I think look at the shifts in technology or geo as opportunities more than the problem. So geo, maybe it's going to take a little bit more value chains back to Europe. Maybe that's going to happen. Okay, that's an opportunity. How I am acting on that. Today, 85% of all semiconductor stuff is in Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and China. Is that smart for the world? It's the ecosystem. It is like it is, but maybe it will change. So find these ways and build on that.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
there's lots of opportunities.
And Martin,
Yeah.
threats and opportunities?
Yeah, no, I think there's never been more opportunities. I think if we look away for the government, try not to stop us, but I agree with you. You need to be positive, you need to find a way. That's what entrepreneurs do. I think the one thing that will never change is that it's always going to be about getting the right people in, the talent. And I think my tip will be, always treat talent as customers. So an enterprise B2B deal is like hiring a big cheese executive, very expensive, takes a long time. If you're B2C, it's the other way around. It's high volume, high velocity, and so on. So apply that thing. But I think it's never been better to build. AI will help build smaller, more talent-dense organizations. You will be able to scale quicker. So now is a great time to build companies. And I think Norwegians have that in their DNA. Many don't know it.
The Vikings.
It's the Viking mentality, yeah.
All right, thank you. Nora, threats and opportunities?
Yeah, I think the threat is status quo, like people being very, not willing to change. I just see around me where it's a lot of people not even tried AI or using AI. That's a threat. And also I see, Norwegians really eager on working 8 to 4. I remember I've been working in a company that had Taiwan and US time zone. I was waking up 4 or 5 in the morning to have a meeting. And I think Norwegians need to be more hungry. So I see that as a threat, and I really hope it's a cultural change that will happen in Norway. But the opportunity is those who actually take that. A lot of opportunities out there. I think a lot of people are afraid of AGI, artificial general intelligence, but I also think not all problems are not solved. So there are a lot of problems. We have a lot of tools to solve them. It's actually to just go do it with speed, not with a local train. Do a TGV or like a
high-speed train.
High-speed train.
All right, thank you. And finally, Arne.
Yeah, so entrepreneurship and venture capital is like the business of optimism and ambition, right? And I think fundamentally we're in the age of technology, and technology becomes more powerful every day. With traditional technology, it's about making people marginally more productive every time. With AI, I think, the market is larger because you can take more of the labor from people and automate it, so the opportunity is bigger. And it's never been so easy to build new things based on a great idea. And so if you zoom in on Norway, ambitious people with drive and good ideas have the best opportunity from a fundamental perspective to generate a lot of value in the current environment. So we should go for it. The threats is that we've lost some of the original strains of our culture. We've become complacent and risk averse. And I think the risk-averse part of it is the worst because, we used to steal gold by sailing across the oceans and killing half of the crew, or, out to sea to fish, and, there's only way to survive or diving to the bottom of the sea. Now we're the risk matrix is always first. Yeah. And only when all the risk is taken out, we can go and do something. And so that causes us to tax it the wrong way. Europe and Norway regulates ourselves out to irrelevance. And so we need to learn to live with risk and embrace risk and go out and do it. Yeah. That's what we need to do.
One of my chairmen said to me once time, when you are a CEO, you just jump out of a mountain with a wingsuit and just try to fly as long as you can. So that's your job.
All right. I think those are very wise final last word. I think that we're going to give our panel a good round of applause. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's session about the video that killed the radio star. So thank you for attending, thank you for coming, and have a good rest of your day.